Hello everyone, good afternoon. I welcome you all to today's session of Making Cities Livable webinar. Today's session is part of a series of webinars being organized by Manav Rachna University, and our department is holding the fifth one of them. Manav Rachna Educational Institutes are brainchild of Dr. O.P. Bhalla, a visible symbol of knowledge and experience. Manav Rachna provides high quality education in the fields of management, engineering, architecture, design, and arts. I am Professor Colonel Sanjeev Gupta. I am Director of Faculty of Architecture and Design, Manav Rachna University. Now I'll introduce the esteemed panelists. Firstly, amongst us we have architect Jeet Kumar Gupta. He is a legend by himself. Sir is alumnus of CCA from, incidentally, I also studied in CCA. He is Masters in City and Regional Planning, gold medalist from Guru Nanak Dev University. He has professional experience of more than 50 years as an architect, urban planner, in architectural education, policy planning, and policy legislation, planning legislation. He was chief town planner. He was director of an architectural institute. He was advisor, town planning, Puda. He is chairman Chandigarh chapter of Indian Green Building Council and is ex-vice president of Indian Institute of Architects. He has authored more than 300 technical papers and articles in 8 books. He has given guest lectures internationally and in many architecture colleges, including CCA, where he used to come as a guest faculty when I was a student. Now the next one is Professor Dinesh Bhardwaj. He is alumnus of SPA Delhi. He has an experience of more than 40 years and he specializes in Vastu Shastra and hospital planning. He is presently Professor Design Chair at Faculty of Architecture and Design in Manav Rachna University. Professor Sanjay Surya, he is again alumnus of SPA Delhi. He specializes in landscape architecture. He has professional experience of more than 20 years and he is presently HOD, head of the department with my department. Architect Hitesh Kumar is alumnus of NID Ahmedabad. He is an architect, designer and an educator. He is presently working as assistant professor in my department. Now, a bit of housekeeping. In case you have any questions, please keep them reserved for the end of the session, or maybe you can write in the chat box, and as when the time comes, we'll tackle these questions. And so without any further wasting any time now, we start the session. Over to Sanjay.
Thank you, Colonel Sanjeev. Cities and urban settlements in general are the face of the future. Today, some 50% of the world's population lives in urban area. In 2005, the world's urban population was 3 billion out of total of 6.45 billion. The year 2007 marks a watershed in human history when for the first time, half of the world population will be living in cities. How will this affect the cities of the future? Cities are center of excellence, bringing together innovators, entrepreneurs, financiers, and academics. They attract a rising tide of humanity, of people hoping for better life for themselves and their children. Cities provide opportunities, economies of scale, a future with more choices. And yet, cities have also been blamed for causing environmental catastrophes, for marginalizing communities, for diminishing the quality of life of the poor. They have been castigated as center of disease, social unrest, and insecurity. Cities are also at risk from industrial hazards, natural disasters, and spectatory of global warming. A successful city must balance social, economical, and environmental needs. It has to respond to pressure from all sides. A successful city should offer investors security, infrastructure, including water and energy and efficiency. It should also put the needs of its citizens at the forefront of its planning activities. A successful city recognizes its natural assets, its citizens, and its environment, and build on these to ensure the best possible return. I'll start with a small video.
Melbourne has been the most livable city in the world for the past 7 years. But this year, it lost the top spot to Vienna. Home to Strauss and Schubert and famous for its coffee houses, Vienna scored an almost perfect 99.1%. But what makes a city livable? The Economist Intelligence Unit has been analysing this. It has ranked 140 cities according to stability, education, healthcare, infrastructure, and culture and environment. The most livable cities tend to be mid-sized, in wealthy countries and with low population densities. Copenhagen is the only other European city in the top 10. Australia and Canada each have 3 cities, and Japan 2. Western Europe and North America are the most livable regions in the world, the Middle East and Africa the least, while Asia and Australasia are home to some of the world's most livable and unlivable cities. Many factors impact how livable a city is, like natural disasters. Hurricanes Irma and Maria destroyed much of Puerto Rico this year. The capital, San Juan, fell further in rank than any other city. The ending of Ivory Coast's 13-year UN peacekeeping mission demonstrated a step towards stability and a steady increase in its livability. The rankings of cities like Damascus, Lagos, Karachi and Tripoli show the extent to which conflict contributes to low livability scores. And Caracas, the least livable city in Latin America, is only set to get worse, owing to the deepening economic crisis and rising authoritarianism in Venezuela. Megacities like London, Paris and New York have higher levels of crime, congestion and public transport problems, which keep them out of the top spots. This year, the world overall has become a better place to live. This is because of the decrease in terrorism threats, specifically in Western Europe. Vienna's increased stability is what has given it the edge this year.
Now, I would like to bring upon our first panelist, Professor Jeet Gupta, sir. Over to you, Jeet Gupta, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Thank you, Dinesh and Hitesh as the valuable panelist and the audience, I think you had a very good briefing what goes into making of a city which are more livable, how the city can be made better places to live in. And cities have their own context in the human growth and development. Next, please. So, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you
Next,
are.
please.
Yes, sir, you are.
Let's see what these cities are. I think I must define what cities are. Cities have been part of the human history. They are known both for positivity and negativity. Cities are known to command power and authority. They are areas of concentration of population, activities, infrastructure, services. They are definers of art, architecture, culture, community, and nations. They are known as engines of economic growth because they are generator of employment, wealth, and prosperity. They are incubators of innovation, industry, technology. They are materialization of humanity's noblest idea, ambition, and aspiration. And they are known to drive national economies by creating wealth, enhancing social development, and providing employment. Next, please. So, next, please. If these are the, next, yes, if these are the positivity, I think the cities have their negativity. Let's understand cities have both positivity and negativity. And next, Bakari. Then, can you give me, Sanjay, can you give me the, I share the screen. Can you give me?
So 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
This one you're talking about, sir?
No, back. Yes, this is the one. So cities we are talking about, cities are known for their positivity, their and negativity. But cities are also, they are basically have dualities and contradiction. So I think we have to understand that if they command power and authority, they are next, please. Then next, please, Sanjay. Can you? Yes. This is the. That why they are known as contradiction for the contradiction and duality, because there are you have poverty, they have all prosperity there, and cities are known for consumption of large resources. They are responsible for generating lot of waste. They are responsible for global warming, and when they are not governed properly, they can be believing in poverty, exclusion, etc. Sanjay, can you, there is a bar coming in my, is there a bar which can remove, can you remove the bar? Yes, this is okay. So, let's look at this. So cities have both positivity and negativity. They remain a man-made and mechanical habitats, Cities, I would say, call them a civilization. There are two kinds of civilization. There were no Roman civilization. There are no Greek civilization. There are no Indus civilization. There are civilization which are now, either they are urban civilization or they are rural civilization, and they are antithesis to another. There are contradiction. There are conflict between two. Unless and until we are able to gel and synergize these kind of these civilization, I think we are heading for a difficult time. Let's understand, city do what, city in terms of their growth, they destroy natural habitat. They are antithesis to biodiversity. They are home to large migrants, and that's why there are slums, They always remain in crisis, either natural or man-made. There is a crisis of poverty, population, and pollution. They are ever evolving and devolving. But given the context, cities will remain dominant in future because they will be drivers of nations' economy, growth, and development. But they need to be rationalized in terms of their planning, in terms of their development and management, and they need to be made more productive, effective, efficient, humane, and sustainable. Next, please. Next, please. Next, Sanjay.
Sir, ho gaya.
This shows, that how world population is divided. Now you can see China and India are the major circle, and they shows the size of the population. They hold 1/3 of the total global population. India remains the second largest urban system and the rural system, and that's what the problem arises. In case of India, we are simply in crisis for the reason we have lot of population. We hold 17.3% of population, but we have only 2.4% of the land. So therefore, India is already in a very precarious situation so far as the landman availability is concerned. Next, please. And the way we are going, I think the problem remains that India is going to be the largest populated country in the world, and that's by 2036, the way we are going, that we will be number one in this country and number one in this world in terms of population, and that will be the greatest challenge for us, how to manage these issues. Let me also explain to you how we have grown in last 100 years. We have grown 5 times in population from 25 crore to 121 crore. We have only 3 times higher urbanization. We have urban center growing only by 4 times, and the total population, if it has increased by 5 times, urban population have gone 15 times as against 3.5 times the rural population. So therefore, the major problem remains, how to manage our urbanization. And I said, we are at 31.1% at present in 2011. We are going to be 50%, and we are going to be 1.6 billion, by the year 2050, when 50% of the population will be living in urban India. That means we will be adding another India in the next 30 years, and that will be the greatest challenge, how we manage our cities. And that's what the context shall remain, that how we make our cities more livable and sustainable. Next, please. This is how the context of India is. Indian urbanization is not spatially spread uniformly. It is differentiated and it is leveraged in terms of the larger cities. So there are larger cities which are driving the total economic growth. They are, having main concentration of population activities, and it is said, 10 top cities of the country, most populated city of the country, they have only 8% population and they contribute 15% of GDP. 53 metro cities have population around 13% and they contribute 35% of the total GDP. And 100 top cities of the country, which have population around 1/6 of the total population of the country, contribute around 45% of the total wealth. And you can see, the larger the city, more the contribution it makes to the economy, prosperity, but also it promotes poverty, because these larger cities believes in exclusion, not inclusion. Next, please. So we look at the urbanization of India. Next, please. So we have seen, how the urban centers have both dualities and contradiction. If there are positivity, there are negativity. But in the corrects, if you're looking at, the urban center remains poorly managed and governed. They are unable to take care of its population. They are unable to provide the basic necessity of shelters, service, land, water, and sanitation. And Indian urbanization has been known for its, problem of population, poverty, and pollution. And it is said that Indian urbanization is an urbanization of population, poverty, and pollution. And urban centers are known to, generate a quality of life, which I think required to be improved to a larger extent, because a majority of people are living in this slum area. Next, please. These are the areas. You can see how our cities are performing in terms of water supply, sewerage, affordable housing, transportation, open spaces, solid waste, and then stormwater drainage. We are nowhere near the prescribed standard and norm. We are below the norms, So we are finding majority of urban residents are suffering, and city, despite having prosperity, generating wealth, but their wealth is not being generated equitably, and their cities are becoming unequal for majority of population. Next, please. So how you make our cities at a better place? Let's look at few of the options, and we'll be now dealing with the way how we can make the cities better place to live in. You just saw before. Next, please. You just saw that how Sanjay played the video for you, that what are the cities in the world which are known to be most livable cities, and what makes them livable. but we look at in the Indian context, how we can make our cities more livable. First of all, I think there are one thing, which makes city more livable. It has to be planned development. There are two options. Either we go for planned development or unplanned development, but there is no way we go for unplanned development. So if we have to make city livable, we have to make them a planned city. But which kind of planning, not the present kind of planning, which has done more injustice than good to the cities. I think we have to evolve a new order of planning where we are looking not only the urban areas, but we look at the rural areas. And so we are trying to gel the synergies of urban and rural. And that's what we look at, replanning for the regional context. When we come in the regional context, we take care of urban area and rural area, and both are planned in synchronization, and both are trying to support one another rather than getting in conflict. And this, the second approach will be, we would like our cities to be more relevant, more, energy efficient. We would like that they should be planned with nature, they should remain sustainable, they should remain healthy. We have to see the cities are not allowed to spread, in an uncontained manner. There are cities are simply melting, and we are not able to make out, where the cities start and where it ends. Accordingly, we have to make cities more, energy efficient, more resource efficient, so they remain least generator of carbon footprints. It is said, these global studies made by UNO has said that cities consume around 75% of energy, and they are responsible for generating 70% of the carbon footprints. And there are two major factors: the way the buildings are designed, number two, the way the transportation takes place in the city. If you can make cities, buildings all energy efficient, like green building, and secondly, if you are able to minimize the travel of the people, and whatever traveling, if it has to be done, if it is made as a green travel, I think the city will be better place to live in, and city will be more sustainable. Next. So this is the order of planning we would like to say. I'm just, as part of my philosophy of prioritizing the regional planning, I'm just displaying the National Capital Region Plan of Delhi, which is trying to not only look Delhi in isolation, but looking Delhi in the broader context, regional context, so that all the areas from which, do you have people coming into the Delhi, they are taken care of, and Delhi does not become a place where everybody rushes. Then you are not able to, contain them, provide for them. So they must remain where they are. That means you are trying to develop other kind of settlements, both urban and rural, so that people do not feel the necessity of going up. There is a job employment, there is economic opportunity, there are basic services which are made available at, regional level, and that's where, people will try to remain there rather than rushing to this. So if the country takes up regional planning as the priority, I think India will be much better and much placed in managing its urbanization, because most of the urban problems have their genesis in the neglect of the rural areas. And until and unless we empower the rural areas, I think urban problems are difficult to be sorted out. Next, please. So after looking at, next, please. Next, we are looking at, globally also, this UNO has mandated, there are 7 sustainable development goals which they have given to all the countries in the world, and which tries to tell that these goals must be achieved partially by 2030, but by all by 2050. And India is signatory to this Paris Agreement, where they agree that they are going to, achieve this kind of goal. But we are concerned where goal number 11, which talks of sustainable cities and cities which are more livable, which are more safe, which are resilient, and which are sustainable. That's what the ambit is. And that's this city. Once you achieve this goal, you will be able to achieve about 9 out of the 17 goals. That is the importance of the city in the entire context of making this world sustainable and livable. Next, please. So I think if you have to make any city a great place to live in, first we must understand what is the strength of the city, what is the weakness of the city, where are the opportunities and where are the threats, So each city must define its own agenda, growth pattern, and the future journey. And that's what we have to have a vision. So each city must define its own vision. There can't be same vision for every city. There can't be copy and paste of this. Each city have its own strength and accordingly require different kind of option to make it a great place to live. So first and foremost will be that let's define where the city is going to be taken to, and that's what you have to have a smart vision, Then you take up the plan development, and the plan development, not the way, we are preparing our master plans. I think we have done more injustice by taking up the master plan, because master plan have tried to freeze the city. They have not given the liberty. How can we, as a planner, we have our own limitation. We cannot define our own, future. And we are trying to define the future of the city for next 20 years. I think that is the greatest injustice being done by the planners to the cities. And therefore, I think we have to have a kind of plan development, which is development which brings flexibility, which takes care of city needs, Since technology is changing very fast, since things are improving, and we are saying, world needs are changing very fast. So city must have, inbuilt flexibility to take care of this changes, Secondly, we have tried to damage our biodiversity, our nature, and these are pandemics, all these COVID-19, all these new diseases which are coming in are basically the outcome of our conflict. The way we have adopted our development strategy, we're trying to destroy the nature. So next point will be our, development. The city development shall be in collaboration, in cooperation, and in synthesis with the nature. So thirdly, we would like the city to be made more compact, The moment you try to expand the city, its journey time expands, its infrastructure expands, People travel one end to another, and that's what city becomes uncontrollable. So city have to be, made more compact, so they are made more social, more economical, more cost effective. They can eliminate the need of a motorized vehicle, and that they will promote a social behavior which will be conducive to a better living. We may have to make city inclusive, which takes care of each and every person living in the city. We have to make cities green, We have to put landscape as an integral part of the city, and we'll discuss what landscaping has done to the city. We have to make use of blue element, that means water and the green, as essential part of the city development in each and every part, whether it's a commercial center, whether it's a, center, residential sector, they have to be integrated as a part of development. We have to make cities safe. We have to have a quality leadership. Unfortunately, in India, nobody knows who owns the city. If there is no ownership in the city, who is going to lead the city? And that's where we are, we are not able to compete with the global cities, because we don't have any ownership. We don't have a leadership, we don't have a clear vision, and we don't have, somebody to lead us to the destiny, We have to take technology, and we know technology is going to play an important part, not only in education, but also in all city planning and management, Then culture, heritage, art and architecture remains one of the major aspects which can make city more livable. We have to have quality public spaces. We have to have buildings which are green. We have to make cities people-centric. And also we have to create ownership for the city so that people understand, own it, and contribute to its making a nice place to live in. Next, please. We look at, after looking at making
A
city.
little faster.
Okay. We have to see, a human being has 4 functions to perform, and that's a living, working, care of body and spirit. The entire human life cycle is divided into that, and all cities must cater to, these 4 functions. If a city is able to provide highest quality of life, appropriate living, working condition, makes people healthy, both physically and mentally, and tries to make him travel minimum, I think a city has done the job. And all this function, if they are done under the nature and the natural element, the sun, space and greenery, I think we will have best of the city, most livable city. Next, please. Next. So this is Chandigarh, which I'm trying to showcase how the planner integrated the entire, the greenery, the nature as part of the city planning. And that's what Chandigarh remains as a great place to live in. Next, please. So we are trying to say, let city be made compact city. Compact city means you will have, more people living in a smaller area. This is more essential in Indian context, where we have only 2.4% of the land, I said, and 17.3. Land use planning. We have to build dense and not shallow. We have to build for accessibility, not mobility. We have to plan for people, not for vehicle. And we have to optimize the current infrastructure. They are win-win situation for making a city compact, but it has its own limitation. There are positivity, there are negativity, but these compact cities stand out in terms of more advantages than disadvantages. It's trying to be equitable. Next, please. So this is the way how we can do the make the compact city. Next, please. I'll show you a few of the example. The way we can do this. Next, please. We can make these cities more compact. That's 3 method. You will say density, distance, and diversity. So you have mixed land use. You reduce the distances between place of living and working, and then you have a higher density. These 3, as you go on, making it more diverse. They're reducing distances and you are improving density. I think you are going towards the making city more compact. Next, chaliye. Then is, do you go around the transit oriented development? That means you are all concentrating on your development along the lines of communication. So where you get down, it's not your stop, it is your destination. So there is not much travel involved and you are all located here, and then you are not required to travel. And these are the options which have been exercised globally for making city compact here. Next, please. This is a city, Masdar in Abu Dhabi. It's for 50,000. This city is known to be zero carbon, zero car and zero waste city. In this city, they are trying to make use of the cool wind coming from the sea, because this is in the Middle East with a very high temperature of 52 degrees. How they have to manage those kind of things? They have put all solar panels on the roof. They are generating their own electricity. They have narrow roads because there is no car permitted. People are using, iPods, which they can travel, transit pods, which they're available to you for moving you from one part of the city. You are not required to travel more than 200 yards to go to your place of living and place of working. And narrow roads are trying to achieve what? They are trying to shade one building with another. So building mutually shading like in Jaisalmer, and they are trying to cool each other. And the winds and the all streets have been oriented in a manner that cool air passes through that from the sea and keep it cool. So all waste is collected, waste is generated. So this city remains one of the iconic city. It is in the build making, and let's see how this experiment succeeds over a period of time to make this city as a zero carbon, zero waste and zero car city. And on the left is the vehicle available to you for taking you from one end to another. Next, please. Next. So this is the, next chaliye. This is a city known as Tianjin, which is being planned in China for 3.5 lakh people over a 30 square kilometer. And this city is one which have incorporates, that they are using land for setting up a city which is totally derelict, It's not agriculture, productive land. So non-agricultural site, that means land which is very poor. Number two, they are using the technology of mixed land uses, making all buildings green, and they are ensuring that 90% of the trips are made by the green transport, means either they are walking, they are cycling, or they are mass transportation, and then they are using renewable energy as the major source to power the city. And last, they are conserving water to the largest extent and recycling it and reusing it. Next, please. And this is the only city which is planned on a defined parameter. There are defined parameter which tells you. Next, after planning, we come to the next part is the transportation. Transportation remains very, very important, because the transportation, there are two worst gifts of urbanization. That means all the time you are traveling, all the time you are in traffic, and that's what you are spending 3 to 4 hours during travel itself. That's the most unproductive work. The reason for this is that our priority for travel, we are only planning for people. We are planning for vehicle and not for people. Once we are planning for vehicle, that means our priority remains that vehicle must move at the fastest pace. But what is the limit to the vehicle? India has more than 200,000 दो करोड़ कारें प्रोड्यूस होती हैं. Around 10 to 12 crores of two-wheelers are being produced here. How can you accommodate all those kind of things? Road have its own limitation. You can't extend. They are not elastic that you can increase the width of the road. There are limitations. So therefore, I think we have to change our priority. We have to change our approach, how we plan these traffic and transportation. So let's go by this. We plan for people, not for vehicle. We promote accessibility, not mobility, and that is the reason we would look at the options, where they can reduce this kind of thing. And the option remains, you promote walking, you promote cycling, you promote mass transportation, and the least priority shall be going to a car, because that remains the most inefficient and expensive mode of travel. Next, chaliye. So when this is the inverted pyramid of our priority, if you change from planning for vehicle to the planning for people, Next, chaliye. Next, this is how the cities they are managing. They are giving respect to the cycling. They are asking people. They are making them safe, and then they are using the terminology of equitable allocation of road space. That means the amount of traffic carried by different kind of mechanism. They are allotted, portion of the road in proportion to the number of people they are carrying. So you have limited space for cars, you have well-defined space for walking and cycling and buses, etc. So therefore, it helps in better utilization of road infrastructure and managing the traffic, because then car people get stuck up. There are more car, and then they will get stuck up and they will delay, and people will shift to other modes of travel. Next, chaliye. The next चलिए. This is, this is a method which has used by Singapore. That's electronic road pricing. This tells, roads are not free. Everybody is not, allowed to use the road. It's for simple reason that if you have to restrict the travel, I think you have to let people pay. And in Singapore, more you travel during the peak hour, longer you are on the road, more the tax you pay. And this is, you cannot own a car. Before you own a car, you have to buy a permit. This is called right of entitlement, So this right of entitlement released by the government, people bid for that, and sometimes the ROE cost is more than the vehicle cost. Then you can't keep the vehicle more than 15 years here. And then you have to take away the vehicle after 15 years. And then every time you bring your vehicle on the road itself, there you are, paying for that. That is the mechanism, how they are trying to make people restrictive. But nevertheless, people have to move. So the options are that they are encouraging, pedestrianization, they are encouraging cycling, they are encouraging mass transportation. You have very efficient system of mass transportation. And Singapore has said that we are no more adding more vehicle because we have already spent 17% of the city land for roads and parking, and Singapore cannot afford more land for this. And accordingly, they are asking that more and more people should travel by the vehicle, by the public transport and other method. Next method remains, for making city more livable. I said a green building. Green building remains. Green buildings are nothing. They are only buildings which are they are basically planned with the help of the climate zone, and they are they are planned with nature. They are the building which use less water, which optimize energy efficiency, which conserve natural resources, which generate less waste, and may provide healthier spaces for occupants. Let me also explain to you, 50% of the total energy consumed by globally is consumed by the building, and buildings only in the making of the building, only 10% of the energy is consumed. Rest 90% of the energy is consumed in its maintenance and operation. Therefore, in order to make this world more sustainable, the building more sustainable, I think we have to look at the life cycle cost of the building, not at the initial costing. So building remains, more cost effective over the entire lifespan, not right in the beginning. And that's what the context of the green building. Next, and green buildings are what? They are, supported by 5 Panch Mahabhuta, Prithvi, Agni, Jal, Vayu and Akash. They are cumulative contributing to the making of these green building, where, Prithvi remains site, Jal, water efficiency, Agni is energy efficiency, Vayu is indoor air quality, which remains very, very critical when we are all confined to the, buildings, these houses, and we find this is the factor which makes people healthy and unhealthy. So buildings are known for their efficiency in terms of energy, carbon, water, and solid waste, and it creates win-win situation for all cities and for all nations and for all resources. Next चलिए, चलते जाइए. We are looking at city making. 1 minute पीछे करिए, 1 slide back. We look at that all great cities, they are known for the greenness. Those cities, they are trying to involve as a green as part of their planning and development, and so they have large spaces dedicated to green, making them green. So there are parks, there are spaces, and there are interlinked spaces, and it is said that you need 7 trees per person that need to be planted in a city. That's the norm, And secondly, the green space must be available at a rate of 9 square meter, and then you have to make sure that all buildings which are constructed, whatever greenness they take away, they must compensate. Singapore has done what, they have said, whatever you cover in the built up area in the building, you have to create that much area, green area on your terrace and on the building itself, That's why how they are trying that the nature is not impacted. So there are green roofs, green terraces, green walls, they are all coming in. And I was reading in one of the village of Rajasthan, the village has mandated that there will be, whenever a girl will be born in the village, there will be 111 trees planted in the, to commemorate that girl, and they will all be taken care of. And within last 9 years, the village has planted around 2.5 lakh trees, They have not only taken care of the girl child, they have taken care of the greenery, and they have made sure, this contribute to their prosperity. Look at this. This is the Central Park in New York. This is the most expensive space in the world, But the visionary remains, this 700 acre of land has been dedicated to the Central Park of New York. And this is what is responsible for making this area entirely sustainable. So green spaces remains most valuable, and they needs to be created. And as per WHO studies, people who are living in near green areas, they are 3 times more active than the people who are away from the green area. In fact, the contribution, the intangible and tangible contribution of green areas have not been accounted for, which needs how much saving they cause for the in the economy by virtue of making people more healthy and saving expenditure on the this hospital, etc. So this is another way how biodiversity is integrated as a part of the city planning. Unfortunately, biodiversity is never looked at, because the moment we have already eliminated around 1 billion species from this world, and more are being eliminated because more and more cities are being planned. So therefore, that's what we are finding, that these zoonotic kind of diseases, the disease which transmit from the animal to human being, they are now getting priority, and that's what they are creating problem for the world. So if there are these pandemics and the COVID-19 kind of diseases are to be limited, what I'm saying, zoonotic diseases, I think these species has to be integrated as part of the city planning process. You see, how public spaces have contributed to the glory of the city, and they become center space and they become source of attraction. Next, Aliye. This is Delhi, where you find every evening how many people come and look at this, and they remain a great places, and they make it memorable. Next, Aliye. Then we look at art, architecture of the city, which contribute to the city as a great place. So therefore, I think we have to identify our art, architecture and heritage, and they needs to be valued. Unfortunately, India, with more than 5,000 years of civilization, have inherited enormous kind of wealth of this heritage, but they have majority of it has been lost because they have not been identified, they have not been taken note of, they have not been brought under a system of protection, etc. So next would be that a city which does not take care of all its people, rich or poor, or people living in slums, I think that city cannot be inclusive. Let me also explain to you, there is, as city grow up, there is a direct relationship between the size of the city and the economic prosperity and the wealth they generate. But let me also explain to you, larger city, inverse is the proportion, inverse, it has its relationship with the quality of life. So the city remains very, very counterproductive. City create problems for the people, and you see bigger cities are most exclusive city. They don't believe in inclusive, and that's what we find in this pandemics. How many people had to migrate because they were, despite they making the lot of contribution, they were not owned, they were not taken care of, and that's what the city remain that kind of thing. So livable city will take care of all these kind of things. Next would be safety. The city have to be measured on the parameter of safety. Any city which cannot provide its people with all kind of safe environment to live, to grow, to now the cities are being measured on terms of safety, on terms of their, taking care of the people, how much unsafe the cities are. And we have seen the cities which are becoming unsafe due to crime, they are being shunned by the other kind of, by the people, and the money goes out, the people go out, and city lose. And I can say the city of Detroit, which was once the automobile capital of the world, became bankrupt for the simple reason it became very much crime prone. Technology will remain integral part of the city if they have to be more livable, because technology can do wonders, to promote accessibility, to provide all kind of services at your own place. It can help you involve people in decision making. You can think of planning, you can think of reaching anywhere, you need not travel. So technology will remain the major issue. The major, you want to go to a place, just have an app, just feed this, and then you will find they will guide you where where this makes you more, your work living more, I would say, effective and efficient and cost effective. What we have talked about cities, what will be the future shape of the city? This is one of the idea which is coming, that future city shall not be comprising of large number of buildings. It may be comprising of one building. This is a building which is known as the Ultima Tower, This is 2 mile high tower. All drawings are prepared, all structural drawings are there. Everything is in position, but of course it has not been, put on this reality, because no country has come forward. This building cost 150 billion US dollar, It has a area equivalent to 156 square kilometer in which the people can live, And this has 500 number of stories. And can you believe it? What could the population which will have? It will have 1 million population. That means entire Faridabad could be, in 1.5 tower. Delhi will require only 19 towers, and Bombay will require only 20 towers. And most of the city can be contained in 1 tower. So these towers, which are going to be definer of the future shape and size of the city, because they will minimize the horizontal travel. You will only be traveling vertically. They will have huge space around you as an open space. City will become more compact, more socially livable, and they will be more workable, because all basic needs of this can be met just around the open space. Next करिए. So this is Ultima Tower, This could be the future shape of the city to come in, Next study. So this, we were talking about leadership. I think leadership have the major role. Unless and until we have a well-defined leadership and the ownership of the city, no city can be made as a livable. No city will be able to do justice with this. And here is an example that is this gentleman whose photograph I am showing you is known as Mr. Jamie Lerner. He's an architect, and he was made mayor of Curitiba. And this gentleman, in his 3 terms leading the city, transformed the city and made Curitiba a laboratory in the city planning and development. He promoted what? All you are seeing as bus rapid transport system, that is the, gift by this gentleman. He said, I don't want, these tubes extra, because they take a lot of time and they are not very productive. And he said, let's make the city very clean for the simple reason, he said that exchange your, waste with the food we will give. So wealth he introduced that system of exchanging waste with the food itself, and where people came forward to provide that kind of thing. And he made and he said, rather than vehicle, it is the people who can make things very healthy. So what he did, he in the city center, like you have a Connaught Place, he banned all kind of traffic, made people walk, and they were more productive. They became better place to live in. They were more higher kind of business. So these are the things he said. These cities are not meant for vehicular traffic. Why are we converting them into vehicular traffic? And let's make them the pedestrian for which they were planned and designed. So first thing he did was promote pedestrianization, and then he gave the idea of bus rapid transit system. He gave the idea of transit oriented development. He removed all those congested kind of development, and he provided these kind of development which is now known as transit oriented development. And he made sure that Curitiba has more than 50 square meter of green space per person as against 9%. So this city became still remains one of the greenest city, and this city provides this kind of example, and that is the outcome of the great leadership we have. In this presentation, I have tried to define that what cities are, what their nature is, what contradiction they have, and how they grow, And I think cities are going to be there. I said they are part of human civilization. They will define the civilization. They'll continue to dictate the economy, prosperity of the nation. But the fact remains, if we don't look after the city, if we don't rationalize the development of the city, if we are not able to manage the basic infrastructure, if we are not able to take care of all the residents, I think we are heading for a disaster, and that's what we have to look for, and that's what we have to provide for, that how we can make the city a better place to live in. I've tried to give examples globally, what has been, what has made cities great. Sanjay has also explained you that how the 10 great cities are, becoming great, but, the question remains, in India, the position is very different. I said we have 2.4% of the land and 17.3% of the population. We have only 32 square kilometers of land, and we have, 1.6 billion people to take care of. Presently, we are 1.2 billion. As against this, America is 96 square kilometer, 3 times more population, this area, and 1/4 time. I think ultimately we have to find our own system, own solutions, and own methodology. Surely, with our expertise, with understanding, with our systems, I think we have to evolve. We are capable of evolving our own opportunities or an option. But I would like to remind you, Mahatma Gandhi clearly said, India lives in villages. If villages perish, India will perish too. I said, now there are two civilizations. Either there is urban civilization or there is a rural civilization. We cannot allow them to be in conflict. We have to gel them and synchronize them. How best we can do? I think that is what will dictate the total destiny of the country, not of the urban area, not of the rural area, but the nation as a whole. Thank you. Thank you, Manav Rachna, and thank you, my great colleagues, Sanjeev.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It has been a valuable insight into the topic, and the passion about the subject is clearly visible. Now, I would like to bring upon Professor Design Chair, Professor Dinesh Wadhwa. He has been living in this city, New Delhi, for almost more than 65 years, and will be giving insight into the Delhi, what he has seen from the past to the future.
Thank you.
सादर प्रणाम टू जीत सर के बाद बोलना तो इम्पॉसिबल काम है। कर्नल साहब, संजय सर, हितेश, मैं कोशिश करूंगा कुछ दिल्ली शहर को समझाया जाए। सर ने जितना डिटेल के अंदर इसको समझाया है, मेरा ख्याल है गूगल के पास भी इतनी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं होगी। और सर ने इसकी सारी निटिग्रिटीज, अर्बन डिजाइन, सिटी प्लानिंग, हर चीज को टच किया है। बहुत मुश्किल काम है उसके बाद किसी सब्जेक्ट को टच करना, पर मैं प्रयास करूंगा दिल्ली के बारे में कुछ बताऊं। मेरा जन्म दिल्ली के अंदर ही हुआ है और दिल्ली में जन्म होने के बाद स्कूलिंग भी यहीं हुई, कॉलेज भी मैं यहीं गया, स्कूल ऑफ प्लानिंग भी यहीं गया। मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें देखी। बहुत पास में ना जाके मैंने सिर्फ ये सुना था कि दिल्ली कई बार बनी और बसी और उजड़ी मुगल्स के टाइम में, उससे पहले, बाद में ब्रिटिशर्स के आने के बाद में। लेकिन एक नए नेता का जन्म हमने देखा 1977 में। उनका नाम था जगमोहन जी, जो आज भी अलाइव हैं, और ही वॉज ए मिनिस्टर जिन्होंने दिल्ली को साफ करने का कार्य किया। जितने सब्जेक्ट को सर ने बताया, वो एक आदमी जो भी फॉरेन आर्किटेक्ट आपने देखा था, वो उसी लेवल का एक गवर्नर था जिसने पहली बार वैष्णो देवी श्राइन के लिए जाने के रास्ते खोल दिए, पंडितों की मनमानी बंद कर दी, दिल्ली के अंदर से स्लम उठा के बाहर फेंक दिए। लेकिन आज मैं प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो में जब उन चीजों को देखता हूँ, अपने कॉलेज मानव रचना जाता हूँ, तो सड़कों के ऊपर लोगों ने रहना शुरू कर दिया। आम आदमी पार्टी की लड़ाई, बीजेपी की लड़ाई, इसकी लड़ाई, उसकी लड़ाई, और सफर कौन कर रहे हैं? हम लोग। हम में से कौन? आम आदमी। पार्टी नहीं कह रहा, आम आदमी मीन्स ए कॉमन मैन। आर वी टॉकिंग ऑफ हैप्पी सिटीज लाइक दिस? घर से नहा धो के निकले और सड़कों के ऊपर बच्चे घूम रहे हैं, कारें आपको ध्यान से चलानी पड़ती हैं। मैं इन इश्यूज के अंदर नहीं जाऊंगा, लेकिन इन इशू में जाए बगैर किसी सिटी के बारे में चर्चा नहीं की जा सकती। ऊपर जो ये मंत्र लिखा है, ओम सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, माता पिता से तो यही संस्कार मिले, टीचरों से भी यही मिले, और आज इस एज में आके अगर संतों के चरणों में जाते हैं या जीत गुप्ता जी के चरणों में जाते हैं, तो यही आशीर्वाद उन्होंने सारे अपने लेक्चर के अंदर दिया है, जो मैंने शायद यहाँ लिखा है, और उसको मैं थोड़ा सा टच करना चाहूंगा। वी नीड ब्लेसिंग्स ऑफ गुप्ता जी, which is very important, and the kind of suggestions he has given, we lack everything in our city called Delhi. जगमोहन जी से मैं शुरू करूंगा। पॉलिटिकल मेरा स्टेटमेंट कोई नहीं होगा। कोई आदमी क्या ऐसा कह सकता है कि दिल्ली शहर साफ होगा? ग्रेटर कैलाश के कोने पे झुग्गियां बनी थी, 1 मिनट में साफ हो गई। पूरी की पूरी दिल्ली ऐसे क्लीन हुई जैसे पता ही नहीं चला, एंड नो टाइम, एंड पीपल वर नॉट अपरूटेड। उनको प्लॉट्स दिए गए, रहने की जगहें दी गई, और उनके लिए पॉलिसीज बनाई गई। लेकिन उन पॉलिसीज को किसी भी आदमी ने इतने तरीके से फॉलो नहीं किया, जिसको वर्ड बोलते हैं विजन डॉक्यूमेंट, जिसका सर ने अपने सारे लेक्चर्स के अंदर जिक्र किया। धीरे से पता चला सारी लेबर माइग्रेट होने लगी और लोगों ने अपने किराए की इनकम बना ली एक घर की। पता चला धीरे से पॉपुलेशन ऑफ दिल्ली बढ़ गई। जो रोज ट्रेन किसी जुलूस के अंदर आ रही है, वहां से लोग वापस नहीं जा रहे हैं। तो दिल्ली का हुआ क्या? पूरा शहर दिल्ली का रिसोर्सेस खाने लग गया। सर ने जो अभी बात की बसेस की, ट्रांसपोर्ट की, इसकी एक कार के अंदर एक आदमी दिखाई देता है, क्योंकि लास्ट पॉइंट तक हमारे व्हीकुलर ट्रांसपोर्ट कनेक्टेड नहीं है। क्या इस तरीके की दिल्ली को स्वच्छ, सुंदर और एक रहने लायक बनाया जा सकता है? जितने पॉइंट सर ने अभी टच किए थे, वी ऑल आर नॉलेजेबल पीपल लिविंग इन दिल्ली and blessed by the best of the best brains available in India. We can talk, but where is the governance? गवर्नेंस की वजह से हमें घबराना नहीं चाहिए। किसी ना किसी दिन, शास्त्रों का मत है, भगवान देवी देवता आके इसके उद्धार के लिए इंसान के शरीर में उतरते हैं। जैसे मैंने जगमोहन जी की बात की, इसी तरीके से हमारे यहाँ बहुत सारी लीडरशिप्स आई। राजीव गांधी के संपर्क में मैं आया तो मैंने मारुति कार को आते हुए देखा, सैम पेट्रोडा से के बारे में पढ़ा तो हमने कंप्यूटर रेवोल्यूशन सीखे। डाकिया चिट्ठी देने जाता था, आज की डेट में केबल से हम पूरे इंटरनेशनली कनेक्टेड हैं। कारें मैंने मारुति बनते देखी, और कारों का फ्लडेड हो जाना, 2 करोड़ कारें, 3 करोड़ स्कूटर, सबका सड़कों पे आने देखा। अदरवाइज बस के अंदर हम लोग जब चला करते थे 12 मिनट के अंदर अपनी डेस्टिनेशन पे पहुंचते थे, आज कार 1.25 घंटा लेती है। पॉल्यूशन से भरे हुए हैं, उसी ट्रैफिक में रुके हम एक दूसरे को देख रहे हैं, और रोज का होने से विश करना और फ्रेंडशिप एक किस्म से हो गई कि ये डेस्टिनेशन पॉइंट्स अवॉइड करने चाहिए। हमारे हाथ में जीपीएस सिस्टम है, ये सड़क नहीं लेनी तो ये लेनी है। इस तरीके के इश्यूज को अगर मैं लेके चलूं और बात करूं तो बड़ा डिस्करेजिंग लगता है। लेकिन वी पीपल आर वेरी डायनेमिक, नॉर्थ इंडियंस आर वेरी डायनेमिक, एंड दिल्ली बीइंग ए वेरी लार्ज सिटी, लार्ज जंगल, लार्ज शहर, लार्ज कंट्री, नेम एनीथिंग, कहने को शहर और पूरी कंट्री की बातें हो रही हैं। एवरीबडी हैज माइग्रेटेड। हमें एक दूसरे से पूछना पड़ता है, आप पीछे कहाँ के रहने वाले हैं? इन सिटीज को क्लीन करना, जहां लैंग्वेजेस अलग हों, भाषाएं अलग हों, त्योहार अलग हों, सब चीजें अलग हों, और एक आदमी अगर किसी गांव से कोई आ गया है तो वो 10 लोगों को ये कह के कहता है भाई यहाँ रोटी है, तो क्या उन जगहों में हमारी रोटी खत्म हो गई है? जहां गांधी जी ने कहा था कि सारा देश गांवों में बसता है, क्या वहां हमने कोई ग्रोथ नहीं की है? दैट इज द रीजन आवर सिटीज आर स्टिंकिंग। हम सब सफर कर रहे हैं, हमारी ग्रोथ सिर्फ वर्टिकल हुई, हमने पैसे कमाए वर्टिकल और अपने घर लेके चले गए। घर ले जाने से क्या हुआ, मेरी धीरे से डेथ हो गई और वो पैसा कहीं स्विस बैंकों में रह गया। आज जो गवर्नमेंट आई है उसने बहुत सारे पिछले 10 सालों में प्रयास किए, उनसे पहले गवर्नमेंट आई उन्होंने बहुत प्रयास किए, और इन सब चीजों को मिला के इट इज ए अपहिल टास्क टू हैंडल दिस काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन। नाउ आई एम शोइंग ए वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्लाइड शोइंग ए पार्लियामेंट। पूरे देश की नाक, पूरे देश को चलाने के लिए हम लोग दिल्ली के पार्लियामेंट में बैठे हुए हैं। पार्लियामेंट वो जगह है जहां से पूरा विश्व बात करता है, सारे पॉलिटिशियंस हमारे यहाँ पे बैठे हुए हैं, सारा डिप्लोमेट एनक्लेव हमारा, हर जगह के राजदूत हमारे दिल्ली के अंदर हैं। तो क्या उतना ही जगह साफ सुथरी बननी चाहिए थी जहां पार्लियामेंट है, जो एनडीएमसी एरियाज हैं? क्या बाकी जगह डेवलपमेंट नहीं होती है? क्या उतनी जगह का विकास होता है? नंबर 2, एम्प्लॉयमेंट, व्हाइट कॉलर जॉब्स हमारे यहाँ लिमिटेड गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स के बाद। ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सिस्टम, मेट्रो, बीआरटी कॉरिडोर, टीओडी कॉरिडोर, बसेस, कारें, पैदल, जंगल की तरह से हम लोग मिल रहे हैं और चल रहे हैं। तो ये सिटी का कौन सा रूप आ रहा है हमारा? हम किस क्लीन सिटीज की बात करते हैं? कि अपना घर ही साफ है? क्या वही वातावरण साफ है जो पेंडेमिक कोविड-19 के टाइम में हमें देखने को मिला? अरे मेरे घर से 3 किलोमीटर दूर दिखाई देता है। तो जो गुप्ता सर अभी बात कर रहे थे बढ़िया सिटी की, वो पॉल्यूशन फ्री कॉलोनीज तो हमने देखी है पिछले 3 महीने में, रिवर का साफ पानी बहता हुआ हमने देखा है, लेकिन उतने परसेंट हमने 80 करोड़ लोग अगर माइग्रेट होके यहाँ से गए या 35 लाख रुपए पर डे ने वॉक किया, फिगर्स भी हमारे पास करेक्ट नहीं है। ये किस तरीके की हम सिटी की बात करते हैं? संजय सर ने जो भी मेंशन किया, मेरा जन्म यहाँ हुआ और आज मेरी उम्र 60 से ऊपर है, बट मैं अपने को सीनियर सिटीजन नहीं मानता, क्योंकि मुझे शहर ने दिया भी वही है। मैं आज आपके साथ बैठा हूँ तो ये इज्जत कमाई मैंने इसी शहर से, और जो मैंने प्रोजेक्ट्स किए दे आर रिकॉग्नाइज्ड। पर क्या अपने घर से बाहर कदम रखते हुए हमें डर नहीं लगता? बहुत डर लगता है, टाइम से घर पहुंचने में डर लगता है। उनके रीजंस क्या हैं? सर प्रीवियस स्लाइड पे 1 मिनट, आई विल फिनिश फास्ट सर, आई नीड 10 मिनट्स ओनली। हमारे यहाँ कौन लोग दिल्ली के अंदर आते हैं और हम कहीं ट्रेवल करते हैं तो हम कितने रिकॉग्नाइज होते हैं? मैं 2 छोटी सी आपको घटना बताने लगा हूँ। पहले एक बसें चलती थी कैनॉट प्लेस से और हम 800 रुपए में अफगानिस्तान पहुंच जाते थे और फिर आगे हम यूरोप वगैरह ट्रेवल करते थे। वे बैक आई एम डिस्कसिंग 1974-75 कैनॉट प्लेस से। और धीरे धीरे फिर ये सीन चेंज होने लगे, पाकिस्तान प्रॉब्लम शुरू हुई, बाई रोड हमारे रूट्स ही खत्म हो गए, फिर हम फ्लाइट से जाने लग गए। लेकिन धीरे धीरे हमारी जो ग्रोथ थी वो मिसिंग थी। ऑल ऑफ ए सडन 1984 के अंदर एक रेवोल्यूशन आया, हम इंटरनेशनली बहुत विजिबल होने लग गए, हर लाइन के अंदर, हर फील्ड के अंदर। लेफ्ट हैंड पे जो मैंने कुतुब मीनार दिखाई है उसका एक पर्पस है दिखाने का, टूरिस्ट इंडिया के अंदर इस कदर आना चाहता है। जब हम इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवलिंग करते हैं, when I was in Singapore, dollar was 16 rupees. Today it is 44. When I was in Dubai, I used to see only grain and sand. Nothing I have seen. When I have traveled to Abu Dhabi, nothing was there. When I traveled to China in last 25 years, scene has totally changed. और काम करने वाले कौन लोग हैं? हर जगह भारतीय मिल जाता है। अगर इंग्लिश नहीं आती, हिंदी बोलनी नहीं आती, तो वो लैंग्वेज बोलने वाले मिल जाते हैं जो हमारी रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस हैं। एंड वी आर ब्लेस्ड, इंडिया इज नोन। अगर आपको कोई नहीं पहचानता है तो अपने हाथ में करेंसी नोट लेके एंड गांधी जी को दिखाइए, वो दे रिस्पेक्ट आवर गांधी जी, एंड दोनों हाथ से बोलते हैं यू आर फ्रॉम लैंड ऑफ बुद्धा एंड गांधी जी। तो दिस काइंड ऑफ ए things are there, foreigners are coming to India, our industry is here. With the modification of time, our vision documents are missing, we don't follow anything, and apart from not following them, migration of labor हमारे यहाँ इतना ज्यादा हो जाता है कि पता चलता है कि शहर के अंदर हम नहीं रह रहे, हमारे आसपास 50 लोग और रह रहे हैं, and they are eating our all resources, even वो हमारी ऑक्सीजन भी खा जाते हैं। और पार्लियामेंट यहाँ होने से हमारी पॉलिसीज नहीं है। तो एक बड़ा अजीब सा criticism लगता है, but being we are planners, designers, architects, we always very positive, looks for solution, but when we do our analysis, we must know the problems, and problems are very simple. ये माइग्रेशन कैसे रुके, ये टूरिस्ट ज्यादा इनवाइट कैसे हो, ये जो हमारी इंडस्ट्री चल रही है जो मैंने आपको नीचे दिखाया, ये कहाँ जाए? बड़ी मुश्किल से तो आज हम अपने को एस्टेब्लिश करते हैं, जो हमारी इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस हैं, फैक्ट्री लगाते हैं और गवर्नमेंट हमें कहती है आप फैक्ट्री यहाँ से कहीं और ले जाइए, और वहां वो फैसिलिटीज नहीं है। हु इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल? ये गवर्नेंस कौन है? हम ही लोग हैं। हम लोग उन लोगों को चुन के बेचते हैं, जो मेरी अभी गुप्ता सर से बात हो रही थी, जिन लोगों ने कुछ नहीं किया हुआ, क्योंकि वो लोग वोट डालने जाते हैं, वोट डालने नहीं जाते हैं। तो जो लोग ऐसे लोग चुन के आते हैं जिन्होंने करना कुछ नहीं है, वो हमारे ऊपर राज करते हैं। तो सबसे पहले अगर दिल्ली को सुधरना है तो हमें अपनी वोटें डालनी पड़ेंगी, हमें अच्छे लीडर्स लाने पड़ेंगे। अभी सर ने जिन आर्किटेक्ट्स का बात की, उनके इतने कमाल के डिसीजंस थे। उन्होंने ये बोला कि सड़क पे से आप मुझे कूड़ा उठा के लाके दीजिए सीनियर सिटीजन्स को, और उतने अमाउंट के आप फ्रूट्स मेरे से ले जाइए। पूरा शहर साफ हो गया। बीच में एक चर्च आ गई, उसके चारों तरफ उनको डेवलपमेंट करनी थी, जो सर ने अभी सीन दिखाए हैं। तो उसने कहा नो इश्यूज, इनको तोड़ा नहीं जाएगा, इनसे पूछिए क्या फैसिलिटीज दे सकते हैं। तो दिस काइंड ऑफ ए फैसिलिटीज आर देयर। सेकंड इज आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ डी कोडिंग ऑफ रोड्स ऑफ दिल्ली। डी कोडिंग मीन्स क्या कि सड़क की विड्थ है कि और 4 गुने लोग उसके अंदर आ गए। सड़क के टर्निंग पॉइंट्स हमने साफ नहीं किए। रेड लाइट से हमें राइट लेना है, लेफ्ट लेना है, इतने कम भीड़ के अंदर हम टर्न लेते हैं जो कि आधा किलोमीटर पहले से शुरू हो और आदमी वो सड़क क्लीन छोड़ के चला जाता है, वो भी उसी रेड लाइट पे फंसा हुआ है जिसने लेफ्ट जाना है। यहाँ हमें अंडरपास निकालने चाहिए, ओवरपास निकालने चाहिए। मेट्रो तो हम डेवलप करते हैं, बाकी चीजें बंद कर देते हैं। बसें तो डेवलप करते हैं, कारों की एंट्री देते हैं, सड़कों की तरफ कुछ नहीं करते। जब तक कि ये टोटल विकास नहीं होगा, जब तक ये टोटल पॉलिसीज नहीं होंगी, जब तक जिनकी बात अभी गुप्ता सर कर रहे थे विजन डॉक्यूमेंट्स की, विजनरी लाइक हिम प्रिपेयर्स द डॉक्यूमेंट बट नोबडी लिसन्स टू देम, और उसके नतीजे क्या होते हैं? ईच इंडिविजुअल इज सफरिंग ऑन हेल्थ, ब्रेड एंड बटर एंड ऑल काइंड ऑफ इलनेसेस वी हैव एट द टाइम ऑफ पेंडेमिक कोविड। किसी को उसके अभी पेंडेमिक कोविड-19 के टाइम में किसी को स्किन डिजीज नहीं हुई, क्योंकि उससे बड़ी डिजीज की आवाज आई। हार्ट अटैक्स कम हुए, तो पॉल्यूशन वाज द बिगेस्ट। लोगों को हाजमे की दवाइयां नहीं लेनी पड़ी। तो क्या कभी बच्चों ने कहा था कि ये चिड़िया भी हमारे घर आएगी, ये तितली भी हमारे घर आएगी, पेड़ हमें साफ मिलेंगे? तो अगर ये चीजें हम देख सकते हैं और सिटी क्लीन चाहिए, तो सारे इश्यूज को अगर हम जोड़ के चलें, जिसके लिए मैं आपको एनसीआर का प्लान दिखा रहा हूँ, ये एक हमारा विजन डॉक्यूमेंट है। एनसीआर का क्या है कि दिल्ली छोटी सी दिखाई और चारों तरफ के एरिया से आज हम दिल्ली के ऊपर अटैक कर रहे हैं। ये अटैक दिल्ली के ऊपर सिर्फ हम ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, बिहार भी है, जम्मू कश्मीर भी है, पंजाब भी है। आगे बढ़ते जाइए, हर कोई दिल्ली आ रहा है क्योंकि काम ही यहाँ पे है। और जो मैंने आपको चारों तरफ डॉट्स दिखाए हैं, डेवलपमेंट दिखाए हैं, इनिशियली वी यूज्ड टू कॉल देम सैटेलाइट टाउन्स जब हमने पढ़ा था। और सैटेलाइट टाउन के बीच का जो डिस्टेंस है 250 किलोमीटर्स का, हमने उसमें सारे में बसावट लिया है। मींस वी हैव डन द टोटल डेवलपमेंट इन दोज एरियाज। प्रीवियस स्लाइड में मैंने हाउसिंग दिखाई थी, हमारे पास जितनी हाउसिंग थी उसको हमारे बिल्डरों ने हाईजैक कर लिया और एक ही बिजनेस उनको आता था, प्रॉफिट मेकिंग, और उन्होंने आज खंडर बना के दिल्ली के चारों तरफ खड़े कर दिए। ना तो घर मिले, ना हमारे जेब में पैसा रहा। तो किस क्लीन सिटी की हम बात करते हैं? जब तक गवर्नेंस हमारी स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं होंगी, जो कि बहुत सारे इश्यूज से हम रिजॉल्व कर रहे हैं, तो इन क्लीन सिटीज की बात करनी हमको काफी मुश्किल रहेगी। सेकेंड पार्ट में बहुत अच्छा बात करने लगा हूं। यहाँ पे हमारा हिंदुस्तान बहुत बड़ा है, ये माइग्रेटरी लेबर आती कहाँ से? ये दुख भरे क्षण हमें देखने क्यों पड़ते हैं कि एक आदमी पैदल ही बिहार जा रहा है, एक आदमी पैदल ही साइकिल पे कहीं जा रहा है, कोई कहीं जा रहा है? ये देखने क्यों पड़ते हैं कि हमारी गवर्नमेंट ने दिल्ली का विकास किया, हरियाणा का विकास किया, यूपी का विकास किया, जो दिल्ली को टच करते थे। तो इफ दे हैव नॉट डेवलप्ड द टोटल, लाइक जो ये चीजें हैं, आज अगर बिहार के अंदर कोई चीज होती है तो वो वहां पे विकास करना पड़ेगा आपको। अगर पंजाब में कोई चीज होती है तो वहां विकास करना पड़ेगा। और धीरे से फिर ये लोग, संजय सर मेरी स्लाइड नहीं आ रही
सर, बंद करिए, हैव टू फिनिश इट ऑफ फास्ट।
आई विल डू इट इन 2 मिनट्स सर, 2 मिनट्स मोर। ऑन करेंगे?
स्पीक ऑन। नहीं सर, आई हैव फिनिश्ड, बंद कर दिया।
एक और थी इसके बाद। सर आई सरेंडर, आई नीड हेल्प। जब तक ये चारों तरफ का विकास नहीं होगा तो माइग्रेशन ऑफ लेबर बंद होगा, हमारे शहरों के ऊपर प्रेशर आना बंद हो जाएगा। और हमें एक सबसे बड़ी एडवांटेज क्या होगी? क्लीन सिटीज जो हम एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, जरूर हमें वो क्लीन सिटीज मिलेंगी। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड और दिखा दीजिए सर। चलो, एनीवे आई विल फिनिश इट हियर। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू। Whatever little knowledge I have, I try to share it with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Our next panelist is Architect Hitesh Kumar. He has been part of the city. 1 minute. Ahmedabad. More than 600-year-old walled city of Ahmedabad, founded by Ahmad Shah, has been declared India's first World Heritage City, recognizing heritage value of the walled city, unique heritage. I would like to bring in architect Hitesh into the picture and give his thought about it.
Yeah. So thank you, Sanjay sir. I was in Ahmedabad for a couple of years while I was studying in NID Ahmedabad there. And the most prominent urban redevelopment project that I came across there was the riverfront development. And I saw that project even before I set my foot in Ahmedabad. That means when I was crossing the river, like before getting to Ahmedabad station, you cross Sabarmati River, and anyone before even setting foot in Ahmedabad is able to see the riverfront development. So that made me curious when I went there for my interview. So when I delved deeper into it, like what was that project all about, I even went there in the evening with my father who accompanied me there. So it came to me like a very multi-dimensional environmental and an urban rejuvenation project. By that I mean was an कि that project had a major impact on the city in so many ways that one can't even imagine. In one way, like I started talking to NID people because NID is also on the Sabarmati riverfront only. It's on the Sabarmati bank. So if you look at NID, like in the olden days, NID was built only on the stilts. Like they were all stilts, and every function used to be on the first floor. So when I asked people who have been there for like n number of years, who have been there like since the beginning of NID itself, they told me that whenever the excess rainfall used to happen, Sabarmati used to get flooded, and the water even used to get to into the premise of the NID itself. And over time, it also used to be a breeding ground for a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of filth. There was a whole Dhobi community that used to live there on the Sabarmati river bank, and there used to be a lot of slums which used to be there. So all of that human activity uh, gave birth to a lot of unsightly places while you used to move around the city. Uh, and also, what another thing was, yes, there's a Sunday market that happens near Ellis Bridge. Ellis Bridge was the first bridge that was built by the British, which connected the West Bank to the East Bank. And after the building of that bridge, only the development on the East Bank started happening in Ahmedabad. So, so when they developed this, it first I'll start talking about it in like one by one. So whenever there is a riverbank property or whatever which is prone to get flooded, virtually that land doesn't have any inherent value to it, because that doesn't nobody wants to buy that, because everybody is like, if it's bound to get flooded, I cannot build anything there. So by developing this 23-kilometer stretch, which is the like the lower platform where the people can go, they also created a lot of real estate, which is of a very high value now. Like it's one of the highest value real estate in Ahmedabad right now. But that piece of land used to be, you couldn't even offer anybody. Like it was not palatable for the real estate market at all. So that was one thing. So they gained a lot of ground, valuable ground for the authorities, and because of that they were able to develop a huge hospital on the riverfront. Then they have a Sunday market, which is also called the Gurjari Bazaar, and which used to be the marketplace, which used to be the Sunday market for the traditional craftsmen. Now everybody sells n number of stuff there, so they also organized it by a good magnitude. So this riverfront development is a perfect example of how uh, a development of such magnitude can benefit the inhabitants. It can act as a rehabilitationary measure for so many communities which are underprivileged. Because when somebody tries to develop such a supposedly inhabitable piece of land, that stakeholders who have been living there also get an opportunity for an upgrade, because the authority which wants to develop that would also develop a habitable space for them. So that is my this thing about my observation about this whole project. So that is all what I want to say. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hitesh, sir. Thank you, Hitesh. Very valuable insight into the Ahmedabad city. Now, I would like to bring in our director, sir, Colonel Sanjeev.
Yeah, Sanjay. Okay.
He would be talking about his famous city, what he feels is the best city in the country, which is the Chandigarh city.
Sir, Jeet sir has already given a insight into the planning of the cities and everything. So, इनके आगे बोलना तो
नहीं.
So, okay, sir, in my first 23 years of my life, I was born and brought up in Chandigarh. So, basically, like I grew with the city. As the city grew, we also grew and studied in Chandigarh. Thereafter, I joined Army in 87. So, served for 31 years in Army. I had 21 postings. I had traveled across the country. And in between, for 5 years, I was in Chandigarh on a posting. So I could feel there were a lot of changes, like when I was a youngster, and now 15, 20 years later, when I came back to city, there were a lot of changes. And now last year, again, I was there in Chandigarh as Dean in Chitkara University. So now the perspective was totally different. So, but still, my heart beats for Chandigarh, sir. And any day in my life, I would like to go back and settle down in Chandigarh, because as of now, I am here in Delhi because of my job. And since we are working, so one has to be in a place where the work is there. And as such, Chandigarh is called, though city beautiful, but city is called as city of retired people, city of retired life, a good life, healthy life. So, should I tell briefly about Chandigarh? Whatever I can in the next 5 minutes?
Yes, sir. Please go on, sir.
Okay. So everybody knows about Chandigarh, and each and everyone has who's studying architecture, or maybe any person, he knows what is Chandigarh. So Chandigarh is one of the internationally renowned, one of the best experiments in urban planning and modern architecture of 20th century in India. The master plan was prepared by a French architect, Corbusier. Now, his idea was basically human body concept. So Chandigarh was planned on the human scale. The head is the capital complex, the place of power. The heart is the city center, sector 17. Arms, left and right, university, educational institutes, industrial zone, the lungs, the greenery, the leisure valley, open spaces. Then the arteries, the network of roads in Chandigarh. And Chandigarh is a unique network of roads, which is called 7 Vs, which establishes the hierarchy of traffic circulation ranging from, like, Chandigarh is connected by from Delhi and from Punjab. So those are the arterial roads which are called V1. Then there are major boulevards, V2. Then the sectors are defined by roads, V3. Then the sectors have got streets, like the roads within the sectors, V4. Then you got neighborhood streets, V5. Lanes, by-lanes, V6. Pedestrian pathways, cycle tracks, V7 and V8. The essence of this planning for Chandigarh was preserving intact the true functions of these 7 types of roads. And the Chandigarh was basically planned in 3 phases. Like when हम छोटे थे तो Chandigarh को हमने sector 47 तक देखा था, which was phase 2 of Chandigarh. Initially, the phase 1, which Corbusier planned, was up to 30 sectors, and it was completely developed by 1975. And like this 47 sector, up to 41 to 47 sector, accommodated a population of almost 5 lakhs. And thereafter, the third phase, which came up, was all multi-story development from sectors 48 to 56, which is still under progress. Now, the unique, the key of the modern urbanism in Chandigarh is the sector, which is defined as container of a family life 24/7, day and night. Each sector has 800 meters, like width of each sector is 800 meters and length is 1200 meters, enclosed by roads allocated to fast mechanized transport and sealed to direct access to the houses. The population of one sector is approximately, 5,000 to 2,000. Like there's some very sparsely populated sectors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they are very densely populated up to a habitation of 20,000. So there was an article which was published by BBC, which named Chandigarh as one of the few master planned cities in the world to have succeeded in terms of combining monumental architecture, cultural growth, and modernization. In 2016, Chandigarh Capital Complex was declared by UNESCO as World Heritage. Chandigarh has been called happiest and the cleanest city in India, and there are so many recent surveys which indicate that. Chandigarh is a self-contained city, which is a blend of architecture, natural beauty, wildlife, heritage, and civilization. The city has one of the highest per capita income in the country. It heads the Indian states and territories according to Human Development Index. The metropolitan area of Chandigarh, Mohali, Panchkula, which is called Tri-City, with a combined population of 16 lakhs now. So there are many aspects which contribute to make Chandigarh city as one of the best in India. One is education. Then the best of the education institutes are there in Chandigarh. Medical facilities, the best of the medical facilities are there. PGI, Apollo, Max, Fortis, and many other hospitals are there. Parks and gardens, the natural beauty of the city is embodied in the form of parks and gardens. Nightlife is very safe. Traffic management is very efficient, and the transportation is very efficient. And the city is well connected with Delhi, Delhi, other cities by air, railways, and road. So in a nutshell, I find Chandigarh to be one of the best cities, but there are a lot of changes. अब जब हम जाते हैं तो when I was youngster, we always associated ourselves with the circles there in Chandigarh, that Choraha, jo Matka Chowk and all these. But today they have become a bottleneck. And I'll request Jeet sir to throw some light on this, sir, how to resolve these kind of problems which are there in Chandigarh now, sir. So over to you, Sanjay.
Thank you, Colonel. Colonel sir, indeed, Chandigarh is the best example of the planned cities in India. But what we have done to a city is we have totally froze it, and there's no development happening within the city. That need to be looked upon, because you just cannot allow the city to froze away so easily. So my first question is for Jeet sir. Culture play a very important role in designing a city, but we as India has a lot of mixed variety of culture. What percentage of culture can we afford for our city development, as it hinders the urban growth around it?
In fact, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
In fact, culture has never been a part of planning process. You look at the planning, you look at the master plans of all, even Delhi, they don't talk of the culture. They are only talking about the land, they are talking about infrastructure and physical facilities, They don't talk of the people, they don't talk about the city genesis, city strength in terms of their, I would say, they're tangible and intangible, assets of the city. They only talk of the tangible assets, they don't talk about the intangible assets. And that's what most our city becomes soulless city, I would say. They are mechanical city, because we deal them as a mechanical entity. And we think city are only for movement or this. But I think if livability has to be imbibed as a part of the city living, then culture needs to be integrated as a part of the city planning process, And this, I think, needs a very close study, because they need to be identified, they need to be promoted, they need to be preserved, and they need to find a place in the city where those things can be promoted and they can be, taken care of. But, after let me confess that even after I spent 50 years in this profession, I have never seen, we have done number of master plans, but, we have never seen any planning taking care of the culture and promoting that culture. That remains a fallacy. But nevertheless, the point you have raised, I think this should remain an agenda, that if city has to have a soul, then city must plan for culture and city must retain its culture and promote its culture. That's all I can say.
My next question is for Professor Dinesh Bhardwaj. Shahjahanabad is the most happening place in Delhi as of now. It's a hot tourist spot, but the living condition in that area is very filthy. What you suggest could be the role of Shahjahanabad in future of Delhi? Where you see Shahjahanabad in 2050?
Very simple thing is we are very blessed with lot of monuments. Governance is a very big issue. When we travel to Spain, so many other countries, like we were in Ahmedabad seeing the heritage city in India, so many other places are there. We feel safe, secured. But in Delhi, Shahjahanabad, we don't feel like this. So many things are there, illegal constructions are there. It's a business hub. Government is not moving these things away from here, but there is another pattern of moving the all kind of activities like China. Dande ke dam pe wo sab theek karte hain. तो यहाँ कोई पॉलिसीज ही नहीं है. Entire Delhi is like a jungle. Agriculture, there is no culture, agriculture. So if you want to see these cities should breathe, people should come. Shahjahan, not only Shahjahanabad, all tourist circuit to be completed by foot or by vehicle or anything. Government must take decisions. We make ministries, but we don't implement them. Mr. Vijay Goyal has made a Haveli very recently, which is a wonderful place in Chandni Chowk. How to reach there is not comfortable. You go by metro, again walk is not comfortable. That Haveli is okay, but around the things are not okay. So I don't know if God bless us, we have all heritage. The way sir has said about the culture, I think we are going to retain it, and we pray to the God, let he should be kind and we should be number one in showing all these things. Thank you, Sanjay.
My next question is for Hitesh. Ahmedabad is known to be brick and concrete city, as the character of the city remains very much in the domain of brick and concrete. What's your say on that? Does it make city very monochromatic? Unmute.
No, I don't think so. I think, as you had said, that it's a World Heritage City. So I think that consolidates its place as like one of the most culturally rich, and that it's not it's a very heritage kind of a thing when you look at it. But if you start tracing the architectural history of Ahmedabad post-independence, because that was the time when all of these big merchants in Ahmedabad started hiring different architects. Like even before Chandigarh, Le Corbusier was hired in Ahmedabad. It was not after Chandigarh.
Minister Fuller.
Yes. So I think those merchants already had a very good vision regarding it. That's why CEPT was developed. That's why an institute like NID was developed there, because the prominent people who had a clout there and had a good vision regarding the city wanted to develop that city or like a very design hub, like a design and architectural hub. And still to this day, Ahmedabad is a very student-friendly city. Yes, after that, but every city, if you look around, it's a pure brick and concrete city. You cannot call any city presently which is not brick and concrete, except a very few number of heritage cities. So I don't think that is a bad thing. But I would like to say one good thing about Ahmedabad, which is it is very refined in terms of the quality of construction and architecture that we have there. When we compare it to a city like Delhi, where like a majority of construction is being done by these thekedars and mistris, and it really reflects on the skyline of the city. It looks very unpolished. But if you look at Ahmedabad, it looks very polished. The kind of forms those people have started developing, even if it's a rectilinear building, but it will have some nice quality to it. And it's the home to B.B. Doshi, who's the only Indian Pritzker laureate. So Ahmedabad is not just a brick and concrete jungle. It's much more than that. Somebody should really spend their time there. Just the auto ride is really cheap. They should just pay the auto and just go around the city in winters, of course, not in the summers, and really absorb the city and its architectural heritage and culture.
Thank you, Hitesh. So you talked about the New York as a good example of city. Can India afford these kind of cities?
No, when I was referring to the Central Park, Central Park.
Right.
Let me tell you, the Rockefeller was the first man, who was the billionaire and who made all the money. I wish people, could see there is a movie, there's a series of movies, that's known as The People Who Built America. I think that's a great learning, which included Rockefeller, which included Edison. This present Tesla man was there. There are 5-6 people. The man who invented the railway line, then gas, everything was done, and then the steel which was invented. Those are 6-7 people. Those built America. This gentleman, once he made a lot of money, and it includes Henry Ford also at that time. So that time, after that, ultimately, he got involved in the politics. There were a lot of politics, Even the rich people, they knew who will be the next president and who will be made the, should be made the president, because there are few people who are anti, these rich people. So there are a lot of politics going on, and there was one man with whom he was involved, and they put him as the vice president, and the president was made somebody who was, pro them. But the president died, this gentleman became the president. He launched proceeding against Rockefeller, and he said this gentleman has done, he has amassed wealth by just, pooling all the business and siphoning off the money. And then he made sure, that his empire gets disintegrated into a lot of companies. But Rockefeller, he knew that he made a lot of money from the people, and he gave money by which he said all big cities will have a big park which will be dedicated to the Henry Ford. So Henry Ford launched the first this initiative in which he made sure the way the cities were growing, he said the cities needs to be made more habitable, and he purchased land from the money which he donated and made sure they are planned, they are developed. And if American great cities have those kind of, those spaces, 700 acres of land, you can believe in the, World Trade Center area, World Trade Center, that is the most expensive space. It is only because of the vision of that gentleman, because he wanted to pay back to the country in this shape that the people have more quality of life. I think, the issue you raised, that is it possible? I think it can be done. It's only because all the green spaces, they can be loaded as a part of the city development process. You charge external development, you charge internal development, and those money which is charged from the people, because ultimately it's the people which are paying. So those kind of things can be, those money resources can be spent. But unfortunately, in our master plan, we don't identify, we don't use the land suitability analysis. In fact, that land suitability analysis has to be done right from the planning, which indicates, which is the low-lying area fit for urbanization, area which should not be used for urbanization, area which needs to be preserved, conserved, with biodiversity. I think if those kind of analysis are done, you will find city will become much better place. And if like Chandigarh, Chandigarh was given 10 crore of rupees, to start the capital project. You can think of 9,000 acres of land was bought And you can believe it, 10 crore was given because India had no money that time. And 10 crore was, amount spent on the building of the UN headquarters in Geneva, Can you believe it? There one building is built, here the entire city is built. And you see, that 10 crore which was kept for the city, now city assets are running into thousands of crore. It's only, that the vision of the Corbusier was that good urbanism makes good money. Of course, in India now we have proved bad urbanism also makes good money. But nevertheless, he said.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for the insight. My next question is for Dinesh, sir. You talk about lot about the governance of the city. Can a city like Delhi afford its citizens as one of the stakeholders, where majority of the population are living in slums, which is 60%? Can we afford to have them as the main stakeholder?
When there is a will, there is a way. That is one part. Second part is whatever things you have achieved, if you retain them nicely and be committed as a good citizen, I think everything is possible. मैं आपको 3-4 बड़ी अच्छी एग्जांपल देना चाहता हूँ. पुलिस ने चालान अमाउंट बढ़ा दिया, पुलिस ने कैमरास लगा दिए, लोग रेड लाइट्स के पीछे रुकने लग गए. ओनरशिप अपने आप आ गए, किसी को कहना नहीं पड़ा. पुलिस वाले को इंस्ट्रक्शन हुई कि आप किसी के पेपर नहीं चेक करेंगे. पुलिस वाले सड़क से हट गए, लेकिन लोगों ने लाइन के पीछे खड़ा होना शुरू कर दिया. रिसेंटली लॉकडाउन है, आपने देखा स्ट्रिक्ट हो रहा है, तो अपने आप क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ शुरू हो गई. हर जगह ओनरशिप आ रही है, सिर्फ इस तरीके से कि लॉ एंड ऑर्डर उसके बीच में आ गया. अगर सेकंड पार्ट विलिंगली होने लग जाए तो उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट को बहुत सारे रिसोर्सेज देने पड़ेंगे. और सबसे बड़ा उसकी प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि जिन लोगों को, अगर इंडिया 100 स्क्वायर फीट 100 लोगों के लिए बनाई है, तो 1000 लोग नहीं खा सकते उसको. अगर 1000 स्क्वायर मीटर एक इंडिविजुअल.
I'll repeat my question again. My question is, there's a lot of debate about the Central Vista. My question is, can we afford city dweller participation in policy making where majority of the people are living below poverty line?
There is a two things in governance. One is the leadership, and leadership means काम करने वाले लोग. If somebody is there and people have a position, they connect this kind of a project with the economy, which has nothing. आप एक existing राष्ट्रपति भवन, बाकी सारी spaces, म्यूजियम आर्ट वो बचा हुआ है, अपने टाइम के साथ बिल्डिंगें खत्म हो चुकी हैं, और उनके ऊपर आप रेनोवेशन में पैसे डालते हैं. इवन पार्लियामेंट का कोई आदमी उन सीटों पे बैठ भी नहीं सकता. अगर कोई आदमी काम कर रहा है तो लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ ऑब्जेक्शन कम्स, एंड वी स्टार्ट टॉकिंग ऑफ ऑल दिस. दिस इज कॉल्ड येलो जर्नलिज्म. In many discussions, I was discussing with Mr. Gupta also, if good people will come in good politics, healthy politics, positive politics, educated people will be there who has a vision, then all this kind of a negativity will go. And good ownership of everybody will be proud owner of living in Delhi, proud owner of living in India. And whenever we visit abroad, we have so much respect, everywhere respected. Kind of negative propaganda we get, we don't hear abroad at all. So it's very simple that we must have a willingness for positivity and must have good buildings on Central Vista.
संजय, मैं एक बात करना चाहता हूँ. The problem of slums, in fact, poverty is not a problem of cities. It's a problem of humanity. We must understand, poverty exists in humanity. Why it becomes an urban problem? Because they get concentrated in cities, and that's what it is there. If we are looking at housing, I think we have to do one thing. We should accept the right to shelter, but we should not accept right to own a shelter, The day you divide, separate the right to own right to have a shelter and right to own a shelter, you will find half of the problem will be solved. Why people are in the cities, Why they get into the slums? Because they think this is the only way, that ultimately they will get a house and they'll sell off and run away, So this is problem. But I can tell you, all developing countries are facing these kind of problem. The recent migration, the study government of India has done, they have found Delhi and Bombay, the total population, 42% constitute the migrants, So you can think of the number of migrants, why they are migrants here, Why they are not somewhere else? I think there is this issue because there is a total mafia, you know. There is a politics of development which you have to understand. If you think as a vote bank, in democracy, you cannot check these kind of things. That is unfortunate part because there are BJP slums, there are Congress slums, and they are all promoting slums and slums. They have no, you know, interest for the city. पॉलिटिक्स में एक ही चीज होती है, अब आपने पावर में रहना है एट वट एवर कॉस्ट में भी, और जो भी करना पड़े, देश कहाँ भाड़ में जाए कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, आप पावर में रहना चाहिए. दिस इज द फंडा ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी एंड दैट्स व्हाट आई थिंक. Rather than looking at development, we should closely look at the politics of development, which is destroying the entire fabric of the country.
Before I close down this discussion, I'll have one last question for Professor Dinesh Bhardwaj. The question is, what are urban villages? Can you please elaborate?
सर ने भी बहुत बढ़िया बात की है. अगर 42% लोग हमारे रिसोर्सेज ही खा गए आके, कहाँ वो क्वालिटी लाइफ रह गई. जब विलेज से लोग यहाँ माइग्रेट किया और वो 40% लोग यहाँ 40% लोग स्प्रेड कर गए सारे शहर में, तो शहर बचा ही कहाँ. आपने गाड़ी से बाहर हाथ निकाला तो बेगर है, कुछ और है तो कोई और प्रॉब्लम है, कुछ और है तो और प्रॉब्लम है, सांस लेना भी कन्वीनियंट नहीं. तो विलेजेस आर वन वे सेल्फ सफिशिएंट, ऑन अदर साइड रिसोर्सेज नहीं है वहां पे, और हमारे यहाँ जो रिसोर्सेज हैं वो लोग खा गए. और उससे बड़ी, सबसे बड़ी उसके अंदर जो चीज है, लैंड है, एयर है, पंचभूत का जो सर ने सिद्धांत अभी मेंशन किया था, वो सब चीजों के ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ा आघात है, बहुत बड़ी एक वार है. और उसको निकालने के लिए गुड पीपल शुड ज्वाइन पॉलिटिक्स एंड गुड लीडरशिप शुड बी देयर. और अपनी इच्छा से, काम राम का, मेहनत हमारी, फल उत्तम श्री राम को, काम राम का ही माना जाए. वो भगवान का काम कर रहे हैं. और ऐसे वाले लोग जब निष्काम काम करते हैं तो क्लीन सिटीज भी होंगी, देश भी क्लीन होगा, एम्प्लॉयमेंट भी होगी, और प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं दिखेंगे. यहाँ मैं एक और चीज कहना चाहूंगा, हम अपने कर्नल साहब को काम करते हुए देखते हैं. 24/7 he is active. When he goes home, we receive many times message from him, WhatsApp आ रहे हैं, tomorrow's agenda, today's agenda. The people coming from forces joining civilians, but discipline they have learned there. This kind of people are required in India. गुप्ता सर ने जो अभी बात की बहुत सारी, लाइक अ इंस्टीट्यूशन, गुंजाइश नहीं है कि उसमें कहीं भी कोई डिबेट या डिस्कशन किया जाए. ही हैज कोटेड द पीपल हु हैव डन द बेस्ट आल्सो, लेकिन उनकी क्वालिफिकेशन, ही वाज ए आर्किटेक्ट एंड देन ही प्लान्ड द सिटीज. इंडिया के अंदर वी आर द आर्किटेक्ट्स ज्वाइनिंग एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर. तो क्या कभी आप केमिस्ट्री की कोई बुक किसी इंग्लिश लिटरेचर वाले से ट्रांसलेट करा सकते हैं क्या? तो यहाँ की तो पॉलिटिक्स ये है कि आर्किटेक्ट ज्वाइनिंग एज ए हेल्थ मिनिस्टर, समबडी इज ज्वाइनिंग समथिंग एल्स, और वोट बैंक की राजनीति है. तो ये विलेज में ही हो सकता है, अर्बन विलेज ही बोलेंगे इसको, कल्चर नहीं बोलेंगे इसको, एग्रीकल्चर बोलेंगे. आई एम सॉरी टू से, बीइंग टू फ्रैंक.
संजय, मैं तुम्हें
Thank you, Dinesh sir. I think if there's any question from the panelists amongst each other, they can ask it. Otherwise, we are ready to close the session down.
संजय, मैं एक मिनट बात करना चाहता हूँ. The point you raised about the urban villages. चंडीगढ़ बड़ी अच्छी एग्जाम्पल है. फर्स्ट फेज में they acquired all the villages, 28 villages थे. They acquired all villages. उनकी जमीन ले ली गई और जो भी किया उन्होंने, they removed the villages. और दूसरे फेज में जब 31 to 47 हुआ, पॉलिटिक्स आ गई, 4 विलेजेस रह गए. अब जाके अगर उन विलेजेस को देख के आइए तो अभी आपको पता लग जाएगा कि विलेज, अर्बन विलेज होते क्या हैं. मैं बहुत देर अर्बन विलेजेस के बारे में डील करता रहा. ये बीमारी दिल्ली की दी हुई है जिन्होंने किया हुआ है. वन थिंग आई कांट अंडरस्टैंड, once you have taken away the entire land, of the village, where people are going to do their job, where is the economic thing? So ultimately what happens, immediately speculator will come in, and you will find, in village, within that Lal Lakir, there are no controls, there are no development mechanism. You buy land, you have your 10-story building. So where is the question of urban villages? I think that is the fallacy. I was looking at in SPA Delhi, I was evaluating master's, thesis. They have done a problem of Khanna master plan. I asked them, I said, where are he says Khanna, he will explain everything. I said, do you find anything else there? He said, what you want, what do you mean? I said, you find, in addition to this city, are there any kind of things, settlements there? They said, then they saw, he said, yes, there are villages. I said, where are they? They said, within the city, within urbanizable area, outside urban. Mecca, what are you doing? He said, we are not supposed to tell you. This is I tell you, there is no master plan which was dealing with the integration of this development. Like you have villages, let those villages be integrated as a part of the planning process, rather than leaving that they will flourish anything. So this is, I think we need to have clearly laid down policy for 3 category of villages. Villages which are in the urban area, villages which are in the urbanizable area, villages which are in the rural areas, So we have different strategies for them, but I am not saying demolish them, but please give them a quality of life, let them be integrated. Why can't we give them a planned development right from the day one, or leave them, they all go away ultimately. And if you do the survey, you will find 95 to 97% on those urban villages. They are people which have no concern with that village, and they are just speculator, they are just outsider, or they are finding this is much, cheaper place to live in, and that's what the slums they are there. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Now I'll hand over the mic to our Dean Director, Colonel Sanjeev Gupta, for concluding the session.
So Sanjay, there are no questions from the...
No, sir, we have taken most of the
Good
questions.
time, sir.
Okay. So, thank you very much, sir. Jeet Gupta, sir. Thank you, Sanjay, for the wonderful session on making cities livable. So, since we don't have any further questions, sir, we would like to thank you for being here with us. And thank you, Dinesh, sir, Sanjay, and Hitesh. And since we have covered everything, sir, and we'll just wrap up. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, esteemed panelists. It was a pleasure being here with us. You all were here with us. So we appreciate you being here with us. Thanks again for